was running the site at the time with Mike Duran and a few other people, but Matt was really the face of the site. And it took a couple of cracks at the bat to really have Matt let me cut loose on it. But what I told him is I said, I'm taking this journey of being a comic book writer, and I want to hold the door, and I want to talk about transparently what this process looks like. Because now that I was making comics, I said, I want everyone else to be able to have this opportunity. And there's not one way to do it, but I can at least talk about my way. And it was Mark Waid, I think, who made the joke years ago, and I think he makes the joke often, about how breaking into the comic industry is like breaking out of jail. And that once you, or breaking out of prison, that once you find a way, they seal the way behind you so that no one else can do it. And to me, it's like, it shouldn't be like that. If I am good at this thing and I want to do this thing, then I should be allowed to do this thing. You know, why does it have to be a club? And for God's sake, I don't want to go write Spider-Man. I want to go write Batman. I want to write horror comics. I want to write my own stuff. So I'm not even coming for anyone else's job. You know, I just want to make the pie bigger, you know, and I would go. And right now I'm talking to you in my office. You may have heard a little drawer open. In this drawer, I have little Post-it notes and things like that when I would go to, you know, literally save up my shekels and save up my pennies and go to comic conventions to go sit in panels from like Joe Quesada back in the day when he was running Marvel Knights, or Mark Waid and things like that, about how do you write comics? How do you break in? How do you do that? So I, quite simply, long story short, I wrote Right or Wrong so that other people could make comics too, or at least see a way to do it. There is no one way, but this is my way. And it's funny because people over the years would say, aren't you afraid you're feeding your competition? I'm like, there's no competition.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
There's no competition. And people would kind of look at me for a minute, and I realized I had to kind of learn to couch that answer a little bit, because I would say, let me explain. I'm writing stories that only Dirk Manning can write. I'm not gunning to write Batman. I'm not gunning to write Ghost Rider. I'm gunning to write Tales. I want to write Tales of Mr. E. I want to finish Nightmare World. I want to do Hope. I want to do The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr., Dazzle Dirk. I want to do, you know, these things are the things that I want to do and I want to create. I'm not coming for Spider-Man. I mean, whatever, if they're like, hey, Dirk, you know, we want you to write Spider-Man. Well, we can have that discussion, you know, I guess. And I'm not being aloof and I'm not being cute. I have so much time to write every day, and I have to decide what I want to write. Even with the work for the very limited work for hire things I do, like Twisted Haunted Highons, for example, or the Tony Schiavone book. I have to decide what I'm going to write that I don't own or I don't own with my co-creators. You know, so why I wrote Right or Wrong was just to help other people have an opportunity to do it. I said if I get a chance to be published, I want to help other people do it. It's that simple. That's it.
Well, yeah, you know, that tracks for me, because knowing you, I know you're a strong believer in karma, and that what you put out into the universe, you get back. So I buy that. The show, what I really want to focus on more than anything, it's why I keep saying the word, is passion. And as I was reading the first chapter of the book, I came across a little blurb, and I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
and what I have a couple of follow-ups to the quote itself, but here goes. This is from chapter 1 of your book.
Oh, I'm excited to hear what you picked.
I started with nothing, not even so much as a home-based internet connection. An idea that seems absurd nowadays, I know, parenthetically. And I can tell you that even during my darkest days, I remained hungry and dedicated. It was that hunger and dedication that allowed me to push past the huge crowd of aspiring comic creators and into the much smaller group of actual comic creators. And it's that same hunger and dedication that continues to push me forward in my career to this very day. Now, you published a book in 2012. That's 9 years ago.
I got goosebumps.
Is it still true? Does it still push you forward? Is that hunger still there?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I have stories I want to tell. And I believe that these are stories that can enrich people's lives, give them entertainment, ideally say something about society that only I can say. Uh, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I seriously want to consider having, if I ever do an audio version of the book, just that you be Dirk Manning and you read it. That was good.
It's my
That gave me
it's my
goosebumps.
good. It's my pleasure, and I'll send you my rate card.
Right. Please do. But yeah, absolutely. You have to, everything in life boils down to two things. What do you want? And what are you willing to do to get it? Now, I'm not saying go rob a bank, or I'm not saying screw people over, but you have to decide. You have so much time. I'm not being crass or untoward towards anyone else when I make this comment, but I don't play video games. I have an occasion, and they're amazing. I played that. What was the last video game I played? That new guy. I took a break for a couple of weeks and played that new God of War game on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. Never breaks the shot. Cool story. Fantastic stuff. Awesome. I haven't played a game since. Someone lent me that new. In fact, I only got a PlayStation because it's a Blu-ray player. Even then, I don't watch a ton of movies. Sadly, not as many as I would like to. You only get so much time a day. What do you want to do with it? I don't go out drinking and partying with my friends and things like that. I'm working. I'm writing because I'm hungry to do it. That's what I want to do. Everything boils down. Even when you write, your characters boil down to what do they want and what are they willing to do to get it. But that's a life thing too. What do you want? What are you willing to do to get it? Are you willing to sit down and bust your ass on a script and save up like Axel on, save up my pennies and quit buying CDs and instead pay an artist? What do you want? What are you willing to do to get it? This is what I want. I decided years ago when I got a spinner rack. I have an old-timey spinner rack in my office, and people that have seen me do live streams on Facebook and stuff know I always refer to this damn spinner rack because I love it. It's just old and kitschy and amazing. I want to fill a spinner rack with my own stuff. How freaking cool would that be? And depending how I counted, I could do it now. I think I could probably almost fill it now if I did like Hope is 6 issues.
Hope. I was going to say, you got to be close.
Well, see, but here's the thing. I hold myself to very high standards in my work. So I could go Hope 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I see what you mean.
And fill 6 spots. I put the Hope trade paperback in a slot.
Yeah.
Right. Tales of Mystery Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, each go in a slot. Haunted Highons was 5 issues in a one-shot. That would cover another 6. No, it goes in a slot for Volume 1. So I could easily have filled it, but I want to do this the right way. I want this to be like an indisputably Dirk Manning filled a spinner rack with his own stuff of books. I have that hunger. I want to do that. And I want to write stories that people are proud to have on their shelf and go back and reread it and say, damn, that was, pardon my French, but damn, that was like, have that visceral reaction and say something about the world and get people to think about things a little bit differently or just to have a moment of euphoria or a moment of dread or a moment of passion or ideally of terror.
We'll get into the horror thing in a little bit. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that is that hunger there? You tell me, but I would say very much so. Yes.
Well, I can hear the passion in your voice when you start to talk about it. Like the timbre of your voice changes, and if people can't pick up on that, then you're not paying attention because there is, you talked about getting goosebumps when I read something to you earlier. I got goosebumps when you started talking about the hunger, like about not playing video games, about deciding what it is that you want to do and do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and again, this stuff is universal. It's not just about comics. It's not just about writing. It's about whatever it is that you're passionate about.
Right. If you want to be a master mason or you want to write the great American novel, do you want it bad enough to do it? What are you willing to sacrifice to get it? I mean, that's the thing. We all have so much time in a day. And don't get me wrong, I got to eat and go to the bathroom and take downtime like everybody else too. But that time I have to do this, and again, you can structure your day in a way that as much as possible to, when it's your peak energy, to dedicate that time to doing this stuff. In Right or Wrong Volume 2, that'll be coming out next year, I talk about daily scheduling and things like that. And I get it. You see these motivational speakers and you got to schedule your day better, blah, blah, blah. And everyone just rolls their eyes and blows them off. But there's something to be said for it. I used to come home from work and like watch TV and eat some cereal, take a break or something. And I had this romantic notion that writers write late at night when everybody sleeps. But the problem is by then, I'm exhausted too, and I'm not writing very much. But instead, if you come home from work and, grab a granola bar or whatever and sit down, and when you're still in that zone and pound out on the keyboard for a few hours, you're getting better quality stuff. You're getting more stuff. And then you can come back and edit a little bit at night, or then answer my emails at night when it doesn't take as much energy to do it. And there's keys to doing this stuff, but you have to want it enough to dedicate yourself to doing it. As a I'm gonna be real blunt, as a middle-aged white guy, it's really easy to think that I fail upwards. It's very, and I think one thing that I suffered from in my career was, having done this almost 20 years, people got acclimated to the fact that, oh, well, Dirk Manning just has a lot of books out. Dirk Manning's always working. Dirk Manning's always putting books out. Steve Tyler, lead singer of Aerosmith, once said, "It takes a lot of money to look this poor." But now you apply it takes a lot of effort to make what I do look so carefree. And I'm not saying that I'm a master, but that's a sign of the masters, in martial arts or anything else. When they make it look effortless, that means you're really good at it. But that does not negate, and in fact is just the opposite, is testament to how much work you put into it. But what do you want? What do you want to do to get it? Are you willing to train? Are you willing to do those things to make that possible? Or do you just think you want it? Do you think you want to just, record an album or record a song or write a book or whatever you want to do? Everything involves sacrifice. You have so many hours a day, to do stuff. So, and you only have so much time in your life to do it. I'm going to do my damnedest to fill that damn spinner rack with books.
I love it. And you'll get there. I mean, what do you got? 40 more years to write? So you'll be fine.
I'm hoping. From your lips to God's ears, brother.
Look, another part of the book that grabbed me by the throat was a little bit later on. I think it was in chapter 3, but I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
But this was the excerpt. It's time to get in the weeds here, Dirk.
Okay.
For a lot of writers, the single biggest obstacle hindering their ability to engage an audience with their work is not poor writing, subpar art, or even a lack of passion. Rather, it's an overdependence on plot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So in my notes for the show here, I just have, show your work, sir. Explain that to me. And I'm sure, look, you go on to talk a little bit about how, you don't have any empirical data here, but it's how you feel about it. So talk to me about this, because I find it fascinating and I want to hear what you have to say about
it. Plots are a dime a dozen. Anybody that tells you they want to be a writer, it's because they come up with a plot that interests them. That's in the chapter Plot, Thud. And I talk about the importance of theme. And I think theme is a much more powerful. 9 times out of 10, I would argue that the things that people go back to reread, if not rewatch, if it's a movie, but reread, is because it speaks to them. There's something in the messaging of that story that speaks to them. And I am going to stick just to books, because with a movie, you can do that just because it's like a cool presented, or it's visually dynamic. It's the Zack Snyder. I was talking to someone the other day about Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, and a movie like Sucker Punch, which is not a very good story per se, but it is a beautiful film. And like I could